Bronco Talk, where we have very raspy voices. Our pinky hurts because it smacking our hand, smacking that pinky on my ring all game long. But that doesn't stop me from clapping, standing all game, or losing my voice. Got a little bit of bronchitis tonight. But Broncos country, how does it feel to be the first team to clinch a playoff berth this season? Feels super good. If you're asking me, a lot of things went well. It showed today why home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs is going to be so important. Went into the halftime, and Sean Payton echoed the same sentiment that I echoed, which was feeling really good with where the game was going. Just knowing that this game was going to be evenly matched. It's going to come down to whoever has the ball at the end of the game, and obviously Green Bay had a couple of injuries in that third quarter, which we don't celebrate injuries, but it did impact the finish of the game. So although we had the ball at the end of the game, it didn't come down to that possession per se. But really, what I want to highlight, and what before I get too far off track, is that at halftime it was a 2 point lead for Green Bay, and they got the ball, and then they uh, they go down and score a touchdown on a drive that was extended by a bogus pass interference. You hardly hear Riley Moss get much from announcers or anyone that um, that's a pundit, or I don't know, NFL analyst of any sort. You rarely see him get any grace. And Romo and Nance both were like, "That's pretty ticky tack," and I've been feeling that way all season long. I think a lot of his pass interference versus his um, the coverage that he would normally be playing on a number two wide receiver or in zone, or sometimes he gets matched up on a one, but that's that's not always the case. But with Pat Surtain going down, he had a lot of tough matchups to cover for a handful of weeks. What's up, CJ Rookies TV? Um, but in reality, um, that pass interference that extended that first drive out of halftime for Green Bay was really bogus. It was nothing. It was two men going down the field at a high rate of speed, and Riley Moss defended that very well. So gave him an extended drive and scored a touchdown. And it was Josh Jacobs of old from the Raiders is what it looked like, and that was scary because two weeks in a row, Max Crosby, Broncos killer, Josh Jacobs, Broncos killer, and he already had a career catch and some great coverage, just a quarter before. So, I mean, Josh Jacobs really did what he does best, and he just antagonizes the Denver Broncos. But yeah, the Vikings are playing at Dallas. Northwest J 2162. Hello. That being said, um, we used our home field advantage as it should be. The game got long. The way that it is in the NFL playoffs, it gets cold. I mean, we're an outdoors team. Some teams like the Vikings or Cowboys, as is being mentioned, could be not dealing with the elements. But if you're coming to Mile High and having to deal with the cold, having to deal with the elements, having to deal with that crowd, and then it's like one call goes against you, another call goes against you. I mean, you're starting to hang your head. You're starting to think, is this gonna work in our favor? And usually Mile High it doesn't. So I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it was a huge highlight of why the AFC going through Denver is huge. If we play New England, I mean, they have a similar home field advantage as far as the crowd and the weather predicament that comes into play. But as far as the Denver Broncos, that thin air, our home field advantage is second to none. So Green Bay, Denver in Denver was a great matchup on paper. It showed up to be a great matchup in real life. And as I said, I called 24-10 when it came to my pregame prediction for final score. I just thought 24-10. I thought we were going to get pressure early. I thought we were going to get them off their game plan early and get pass happy. And I thought, and it showed true. We got two interceptions on Jordan Love. But I thought getting him off of his spot, getting that crowd noise, it was going to fluster him like he did in the second half. I said 6 sacks. I saw the Denver Broncos going for 6 sacks. We got three, but all of them came in the second half. So if we kept that pace all game long, it's 6 sacks. It's getting Jordan Love off track. It's getting uh, the Broncos in the right position to go up big. We had to play from behind in the second half, but that home field advantage, that crowd noise, that thin air, that cold night starts to get chilly. 5 o'clock at night. Jordan Love's on the sideline, looked depressed all game long. I'm like, you're winning, and you're over there with a towel over your head. I mean, maybe just staying in your zone. That's fine. I'm not hating on Jordan Love. I honestly use the Green Bay Packers as an example of how I want to develop quarterbacks. I think they do a great thing over there. So all love for Jordan Love, other than when we're playing each other, and we won't be doing that. I don't think in the Super Bowl. So we won't be doing that for quite some time. So take your L on the way out, and we'll see you next time. In the meantime, I'll pull for you. I'll see you. I'll see you around. I'll be watching your games. We'll probably draft you in fantasy next year, the year after, or whatever. But um, like I said, take your L on the way out. I didn't feel any sort of anxiety, any sort of. I mean, I don't know the word. I didn't feel like we were going to lose this game. I just didn't. And as a fan, you're probably supposed to. Um, feel like you're going to win every game, but I also try to look at the numbers. I'm not just a fan. I'm an analyst at heart. I want to look at how we match up offensively, defensively, on special teams, coaches match up, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, play callers, all of that. And in Mile High, Green Bay just doesn't perform. It's a historic rate. We're 8-1 against Green Bay in Denver, and I remember the loss very vividly. I thought Green Bay had no chance that night. Greg Jennings gets. I mean, somehow the Packers get it to overtime. Greg Jennings, one play, 80-yard touchdown. It was like, what in the world just hit us in the mouth? But I mean, I talk about how this team reminds me of the 2015 team a lot, and not to say that Denver's going to get the respect they're due after this win. Although Tony Romo, I mean, when he visits with Scott Van Pelt on ESPN each Sunday night, and he's talking highly of the Broncos. I think Tony Romo is the real one. But most of the NFL analysts, most of the ESPN analysts, NFL Network, they've been glossing over us, and they glossed over us in 2015 in both of those where it kind of turned the page. Not that the 2015 team really got the respect they were due, but when we beat them on Sunday night, I think it was week 7 of that season, it kind of turned some heads. And I think Green Bay coming into Denver, Jordan Love playing on a heater. I mean, they're playing some of the best ball that they played all season long. I know that they lost to the Browns, had a tie with the Cowboys. They haven't had the best season all together, but this last stretch that they've had on offense has been really good. And for them to come into Denver, that I thought they were going to get suffocated by the thin air. I truly did. And the Broncos, there was a lot of talks of the defense the last 2 weeks not performing as well as they had in the previous the whole season. They've been putting pressure on quarterbacks. They've been stopping the run. Best third down defense in the league. Best red zone defense in the league, and we let the Commanders take us to overtime. And really, we did escape Washington D.C. With a win. I don't give two flips of a wooden nickel what Sean Payton wants to say. We won a football game. Like he wants to keep the narrative he wants to keep, and that's fine. He's a good head coach, and he has to do things a certain way to keep his guys believing, to keep the morale up, to coach his team, but we escaped Washington D.C. with the victory, and then to go into Las Vegas, a division opponent last week, uh, two road games out of a bye, especially going Midwest or West Coast to East Coast is always hard. So I didn't take the Commanders lightly. I'm an Oregon Ducks fan. I know what Marcus Mariota can do. I think yes, Patrick Mahomes did get hurt, went down with an ACL. I wouldn't necessarily say yay, just because I try to keep it ethical. I think Mahomes is a great quarterback. I feel like here's an analogy that I always use. I being a Broncos fan for my whole life, literally have baby pictures in Broncos gear. Um, that's fair. You know, you can't stand him. I think that his wife's a little annoying. I think the whole Taylor Swift, Travis Kelsey things. And there's plenty about Kansas City that I don't like, but I don't cheer injuries. And the reason why, one of the reasons why, is because I don't want to lose a game or feel like our season is lost because of an injury and people to kind of stand on our head because of it. But the other reason is because I like to respect greatness. And Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback. And believe you and me, I was the first person reading all the headlines when Patrick Mahomes replaced Alex Smith. And they're saying he's throwing 5 interceptions in training camp and all these things. I'm like, dang, I don't think Kansas City's defense is that good. So it certainly can't be that. And then he comes out and has a stellar uh, first year starting quarterback campaign. I think it lost to the Tom Brady in the AFC Championship. You know, he went and did the right thing. You know, he was slinging the ball all over the place. But I always feel like Patrick Mahomes rubbing our nose into it. You know, he beat us every year that he played. He swept us, and we hadn't beaten him. We had Von Miller chasing him down from behind, and he's throwing it, putting it in his left hand, and making a ridiculous completion and all this. I feel like as a diehard Denver Broncos fan, it's me paying for the misery that John Elway put Kansas City Chiefs fans under. It's like I never even got to experience the type of young Elway magic that he put the Chiefs fan base and the Kansas City Chiefs themselves under. I remember him winning back to back. I started watching religiously the Denver Broncos going outside, throwing the football up in the air during commercials, but coming back in and watching the rest of the game at a very early age. I mean, 7, 8 years old. I remember the Broncos winning back to back Super Bowls, and I didn't get to enjoy the misery of Kansas City Chiefs fan base that John Elway was rubbing their nose in it, but I'm paying for all of that with watching Patrick Mahomes. Well, now we got Bo Nix, so they probably wouldn't be too upset if Bo Nix got injured, but that's just how I keep it real. Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback. I'm a huge fan of quarterbacks. I think I evaluate quarterbacks well. I mean, I got a lot of hate for believing in Drew Lock as much as I do, as much as I did. I mean, sometimes things just fizzle out. But Geno Smith, he found some resurgence on a second wind. Zach Wilson came into Denver, and he learned a lot from Sean Payton. He went on to get a contract from the Dolphins. Nothing's come to fruition there, but then you see Sam Darnold. I was a huge fan of Sam Darnold, and he goes. He had a couple retreads, and he gets to Minnesota with a good offensive coordinator, good play caller, head coach Kevin O'Connell, and now he's in Seattle, and they're threatening for the top seed in the NFC. So quarterback play is something that I always pay attention to, and I have quarterbacks that I like, and I think coming out of college will be successful. And Patrick Mahomes, I mean, coming out of Texas Tech, I think that there was some fair, there was some fair. I went to school with Bradley Chubb, Evan Ingram, and Kenyon Drake. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I went to school with Brady or Braden Shipley. He went to the Arizona Diamondbacks, played a lot of baseball. I think he signed a minor league deal with the Mariners last year or the year before. It's cool to know professional athletes. Um, as far as quarterbacks I believe in, Patrick Mahomes is one I coming out of college, I just wasn't sure. I think there were some fair concerns, but that's why I believe in the ability to develop a quarterback. I think that when you look at the model that the Kansas City Chiefs used with Mahomes, but also the Packers used with Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. You see other quarterbacks. Philip Rivers sat behind Drew Brees. You see, successful quarterbacks in the last 20 years. Now we can look at the '87 draft and saw everybody started from day one. cool. You see, Peyton Manning, you see, but then you see Ryan Leaf. Starting from day one doesn't. I think you fail more than you succeed. You got Sam Darnold, who was a legitimate quarterback coming out of college and got drafted right where he should have got drafted as far as the pick in the draft, fail in multiple situations because bad teams are bad at developing quarterbacks. And when you look at good offensive minds like Andy Reid, Kevin O'Connell, Kyle Shanahan, Sean Payton. If you also allow good young quarterbacks, now I know Bo Nix was almost 40 when he got drafted, but you let good young quarterbacks come into the NFL and really soak in the game because they know the game as the game they played for 1, 2, 4, 7 years. If you're Bo Nix in college, and it is a different game, it's a different animal. You've got 19, 20, 21, 22 year olds running around there in the NFL, you got grown ass men that are going to play faster, hit harder, jump higher, and not only that, but defensive schemes are so much more advanced when it comes to the NFL game, and you just have to come in. Now, Bo Nix is being successful. He had one of the best games of his career today, so I'm not trying to take that away from him. I just believe in my philosophy, and that's why Mahomes and Jordan Love both get love from me. That being said, like I said, not going to celebrate injuries. It does make the Christmas night matchup, Denver visiting Kansas City, a little bit more. Or I mean, I was going to be stoked to watch the game. I like watching holiday football. I wish the Broncos played on Thanksgiving as much as not I don't want it as an annual thing, but I wish the Denver Broncos played on Thanksgiving more, Black Friday more, whatever specialty game when it's a holiday. I think that's cool to have your turkey and eat it too. Enjoy the game while enjoying your friends and family. Christmas. If we would have went into Arrowhead and Patrick Mahomes was out there slinging it around, no matter how we could lock up the one seed, we legitimately could lock up the one seed before that game, and I would still be just like so in the dumps because our defense is playing so well. But Kansas City is a hard place to play. Um, the Chargers found that out today. They got a win, but they found that out that even with Justin Herbert, who's another one of those quarterbacks I believed in. I'm an Oregon guy, so Bo Nix, I did believe in him. I feel like he was the fourth best quarterback coming out of that draft, and that was Jaden Daniels, Drake May, then Caleb Williams, because I don't think that he was the best quarterback option, but he is a freak of nature when it comes to arm talent and mobility and extending the play. But that being said, I did believe in Bo Nix, believe in Justin Herbert. I talked about the game coming out of the bye with the Commanders. I believed in Mariota, and he did well in Tennessee. And things went off the rails, and he's been kind of a journeyman since. But Justin Herbert going into Kansas City, he's a legitimate quarterback. I know he's dealing with the left hand, but he found out how difficult it is to play in Arrowhead. And if we would have went into Arrowhead, we could have locked up the one seed, but still playing. Obviously want to go into a game with our minds right and try to win every single game we can, regardless of if we would have had a different strategy depending on what we have locked up in 2 weeks. But um, regardless, we go into Arrowhead and Pat Mahomes is slinging it around. I'm gonna be pretty frustrated. So, I mean, there's that respect there. I don't like him as far as I think he's kind of annoying. I think he's really annoying. But as far as a football player, as far as a quarterback is concerned, as far as the way you develop a quarterback, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes is up there with the best, and there's just no denying that. Now, my thoughts on the game, I kind of got long-winded here. We're 20 minutes in, and and the way that I feel about the game is that it went exactly as it should have. RJ Harvey, one of my keys to the game. I wanted to see RJ Harvey get it done on the ground. I wanted to see our run game do well, and we did. RJ Harvey went down with a rib, so we'll see how significant that is. But you have to have a run game late in December. You have to have a run game in the playoffs. So keeping that rock moving. Uh, seeing the ground game. Listen, we're not gonna be the Indianapolis Colts. We're not gonna have Jonathan Taylor running around like a madman. We're not gonna be the Baltimore Ravens. with Derrick Henry. We're not going to be the Eagles with Saquon. But our run game is going to be good enough to, if we maintain the 1 seed, have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, we're going to be good enough on the ground to win some ball games. Now, the one area that it got glossed over last week, and the reason why I want to bring this up is because the Chargers had a similar scenario, 46-yard field goal towards the end of the game on Monday night. Well, we had a 46-yard field goal. Well, Daniel Carlson had a 46-yard field goal. If we would have put points on the board last week, we would have kicked the field goal and kicked it off. It would have been a 2-touchdown game. If Daniel Carlson nails that 46-yard field goal in 4 seconds, like Cameron Dicker did, he had 5 seconds to make a 46-yard field goal. Time expired in Las Vegas. The Broncos leave Las Vegas with a 7-point win. But if the Vegas Raiders make that 46-yard field goal, that same field goal that Cameron Dicker did in the same time, get an onside kick and throw a Hail Mary, it is a tie ball game that goes to overtime. It is questionable how Sean Payton calls the end of the game. He wants to go for it on 4th down rather than kick a long field goal. We're, in this case, tonight, against the Green Bay Packers, who are a much better team than the Commanders. I mean, and then then the Tennessee Titans, and then they're better than the Las Vegas Raiders. All the 3 teams that I have problem with how Sean Payton called the game as far as time management is concerned. And instead of going for a very long field goal, 54 yards, I believe, on a cold night. I mean, it's not freezing, but it was pretty cold. It's harder to hit those. With a kicker that you definitely trust, you go for it in an off formation, tip in your hand. You know that 3 fullbacks or 2 fullbacks and a tight end, H back, whatever you want to call it. The formation that you're in, your quarterback sneaking or handing it off to Prentice. Adam Prentice, although he was my X factor of last week, he was not the guy I wanted to hand the ball off on 4th and 1 to to win the game. Now we give Jordan Love, who our defense did what they were supposed to do to close out that game. Got the Broncos the ball back, 3rd and 15, 4th and 15, all that, or 4th and 15. The Broncos defense showed up and handled business, even though the Broncos offense, when it comes down to closing games, makes curious decisions with time. The Vegas Raiders, a terrible team, a team in turmoil with a Hall of Fame head coach that could be going one and done in Las Vegas, was 1 second less, and that field goal goes through, and there's 1 second left on the game clock. Get an onside kick and throw a Hail Mary to Brock Bowers, and you've got a tie ball game in Las Vegas. You could lose that game. Tennessee Titans, 4th and I don't remember. You have Marvin Mims running the deepest over route known to man, and give Tennessee on week 1, which I had people legitimately asking me. I was in public watching that game. People legitimately asking how that time. I was like, our offense looked like garbage in preseason. We didn't put any faith in our ability to, but we didn't put any real work in the preseason. We have a new tight end. We have a rookie running back. We got a new running back. We got multiple different pieces that are different along our offense, and we're going 1 series here, 2 series here, no series there. It's like, what are we doing? And then it comes to time management, the first game of the season. Then time management last week. Just kick the field goal, make it a 2-touchdown game. If Las Vegas drives down the field and happens to get a touchdown on the board, oh well. But if they're not going to be able to hit a field goal and onside kick it and throw a Hail Mary and just take us to overtime when they have no business playing that close. I know that I'm on a little bit of a soapbox with this whole time management thing, but I swear that will lose you a playoff game. The home field advantage, the noise, the crowd, the thin air, that will win you a playoff game. Offensive run game will win you a playoff game. Everything that I saw out of today will win you a playoff game. But that 4th and 1 fullback handoff, doing the same thing last week with the Vegas Raiders and doing it in week 1 and the Commanders, there were some time management issues as well. Calling timeouts early in the third quarter, not being able to challenge because we're out of timeouts in the fourth quarter. I'm not saying Matthew Golden didn't make the catch, but Tony Romo on the announce team was very Tony Romo on the announce team with Jim Nance was talking about how, Nance mentioned it, and Tony Romo was, like, yeah, absolutely, you're correct. Javonte Williams touchdown run for the Dallas Cowboys is pretty cool. I love Javonte. When we drafted him, I was so stoked. He was the next Clinton Portis in my mind, and he's uh, he's turning up with Dallas. Long overdue, and definitely happy for Javonte Pookie. I always thought they didn't necessarily get it right with Javonte Williams, so I had to call him out. Former Bronco, Javonte Williams in the end zone. I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him. That being said, time management issues with Sean Payton continue to rear its ugly head, and it didn't show up on the scoreboard last week in regards to a loss, but that's on my mind. That's what's crazy is Sean Payton almost let the Vegas Raiders take us to overtime last week. He almost fumbled. I mean, Jordan Love's playing out of his mind, and you give him whatever, a minute and 3 seconds to go and lead a touchdown 2-point conversion. That game goes to overtime, and that would be absolutely extremely frustrating. I'm sure the fan base would let Sean Payton know, and obviously he doesn't give a shit, but the fan base would let Sean Payton know that he would hear the boos. The boos would have been louder than the cheers if that game went to overtime, based off of where we were in the first half, going into halftime, where we were going into the fourth quarter. And we straight turned it around, and we deserved to win that game um, without having to worry about Jordan Love getting the ball at the 40-yard line with a minute 3 left to orchestrate a comeback. Now, it all goes back to my first point, and I'll leave you Broncos country on this. Home field advantage throughout the playoffs is paramount for Denver. We've got Bo Nix coming through since the bye, looking like he's fixed his footwork issues, his progression issues. He's playing well. There's some times where there's a lane open. I think it was 3rd and 3. Could have went for whole left side of the offensive line was abandoned, and he could have ran for a first down, and he throws it behind Marvin Mims, and could have got interception, could have got intercepted. But Bo Nix, by all means, is playing good football. So he's playing good football. The run game isn't where it needs to be to go dominate on the road. Like we had to go last year to Buffalo, and we had them 10-10 at halftime. This team has been, since about week 10 last year, battle tested, and they've proven to come out on top. Our one bugaboo last year was not being able to beat playoff teams. But I'll leave you with this. Bo Nix is playing good football. The run game's where it needs to be to get to the Super Bowl, assuming we have home field advantage. Can't go. It's not good enough to go into another team stadium, into New England, into Los Angeles, if the worst of the worst happens, uh, into anywhere, and dominate enough to win a playoff game. The defense will travel. I'm not worried about that. But Sean Payton could fumble away a playoff game at home with the way that he calls the last 5 minutes of the game. It is frustrating. And until it bites him in the ass, no one will talk about it. Nance and Romo speculated that going forward on 4th down tonight would have been before the ball got snapped, was for to draw the Packers offsides, take the delay a game penalty, punt the ball. I'm, I'm not a head coach by any means. I might have kicked a long field goal, 54 yards, I think, 54, 56 yards. Will Lutz isn't, you know, he isn't Butker, he isn't Dicker, he isn't, some of these long, big leg kickers, but he could have put it out of reach. Could have made it an 11-point game. But also that opportunity to just punt it, make him go the full length of the field, make him go 80 yards, make him go 90 yards. If it's one thing that doesn't get talked about in Broncos country enough is how Crawshaw was supposed to be the worst punter in the league. Everybody was clutching their pearls about the punter that we drafted in the preseason. He's terrible. Can't do it. Doesn't know what he's doing. He's left-footed and he kicks with his right. Like, I don't know what was all being said, but Crawshaw's been doing his thing. Will Lutz earned an extension. He's hit game winners. Why are we going for it out of a wishbone formation? I don't even know. Three H backs, 4th and 1. I mean, at the very least, this is what I thought was coming. I'm sure Green Bay did too. Uh, a tush push, like a different formation tush push with 3 big hog mollies behind you. Just going to go up there, Prentice, Troutman, and whoever else was back there. Um, and that's not what happened. It was a handoff to Adam Prentice, which he was my X factor last week. I think he definitely um, has a spot in this roster. I just think the time management was garbage. And if it costs us in the playoffs, you heard it here first. Broncos country, thanks for tuning in. This is the Bronco Talk post game show. Bo Nix had one of his best games. The run game is good enough to win a playoff game, to run the table at home. New England lost to Buffalo. Buffalo does us a huge favor. The Chiefs almost took out the Chargers. Could have been one win by Denver or one loss by Los Angeles, away from being a division winner coming next week. We still beat the Jaguars and the Chargers lose. Then, so we're 2 out. We won our game, but the Chargers won 2. But huge for the Patriots to lose today. Huge for us to win. So that sets the table for continuing to run the table. I'm not afraid of the Jaguars. Pat Mahomes is down, so going into Kansas City, I honestly think we could run this table all the way to the end. I think that Los Angeles coming into Denver, Week 18, we could be resting starters. I honestly think that if Baltimore does Denver a huge favor next week, we could be resting starters against Kansas City. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. There's still threats for the number 1 seed. There's still threats for the division. I wouldn't necessarily say resting starters, but less of a high stakes matchup. What a punt by Minnesota. Minnesota just put it down. Coverage team. It was, man, it's almost as good as Crawshaw has been this year. Broncos country, thanks for tuning in. I think that we have what it takes. We're in prime position to get that number 1 seed. We got to take care of our own business. Nobody left on the schedule. Nobody ever scared me. I honestly said we were going 13-4 at the beginning of the season. I would tell anybody that would listen 13-4 in a AFC West championship. I was hoping, because the Buffalo Bills are good. On paper, the Ravens are great. I mean, the Bills could be great, but they're not as scary on offense without the likes of Stephon Diggs or an elite wide receiver. I'm not scared of Diggs. But anyways, Bills are good. Ravens on paper are great. There's plenty of competition. You look at the Chiefs, obviously at the beginning of the year, you look at a number of AFC competitive teams, and I don't know if we'll get the 1 seed, but as far as our division, I know I just mentioned the Chiefs. I was saying 13-4, and we're going to be AFC West champions. For 14-3, I mean, my bad. But I was never scared of any team on our schedule. I just think that the stretch of our schedule could have gotten the better of us. Now, beating the Eagles was a win that I didn't have on the schedule. Just is what it is. I also didn't have losing to the Chargers week 2. We beat Tennessee, yeah, and then lost to the Chargers, lost to the Colts, and then 11 straight. That's crazy. 12-2 Broncos country. If you've tuned in, thank you so much. If you like this video, thank you so much. If you have subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. Otherwise, do me a huge favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel. We just love talking Broncos football. That's why it's called Bronco Talk. It's about you. It's about you. It's about me. It's about everybody in between. Let's talk Broncos football. I mean, it's cool to come on here and think that Patrick Mahomes is a fairy, or let me know that Falcons fan who literally hate every other team at the moment. It's cool to be those people. It's also cool to have a community of Denver Broncos fans that know that we're going to run the table. We're going to go at least 13-4 from beginning of the season, not after week 12, after week 14, after week 17. But to know that from the jump that we're going to win the division, that we're going to go win at least 13 games. I think we win 14 now. I think we do run the table. I think we instill all the belief in the world that Denver is for real. That teams will have to come into Mile High and have to deal with the noise, have to deal with thin air. You saw Micah Parsons. I mean, he went down. He went down with an injury, so I'm not Micah Parsons and Christian Watson. Huge fan of both of those guys, actually. But before Parsons went down, he was sucking wind. That's what's going to happen in the AFC playoffs. Your best pass rusher, whoever it is going to be sucking wind off the field on a third and short, because that's what the Mile High Air does to you. That's what Broncos country does to you. Broncos country, like I said, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow this. We're trying to make a community of Broncos believers, people that know that the Denver Broncos, are for real, and that we're going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, go Broncos.